Ever so often, I will poll the members of my community and ask them what their number one struggle with their decluttering and organizing journey currently is. And most of the time, without fail, the number one answer has something to do with laundry, which makes complete sense. It stresses all of us out, including myself. It's hard to keep caught up with it, especially if you don't really have a routine or you need to improve it. We're always looking for ways of making our lives with laundry a little bit easier. And so the next question that I typically will get is, well, what does a professional organizer's laundry routine look like? I have devised some systems over the years of working with my clients that I use in my own home and test and tweak and try to make the process as efficient and stress-free as possible. So I want to help you out with that as well today. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode of the Speak Organized podcast. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process that you should be able to weave into your own routine and help you get out from underneath that laundry avalanche, stop procrastinating as the piles build and build and build, and prevent you from having to spend hours upon hours and trying to find that motivation to get through those piles of laundry so that you can actually spend your free time doing things that matter to you. So if that sounds good, I invite you to stick around and let's get into it. What's up and welcome to this episode of the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, decluttering expert, and productivity-based life coach. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. And please go ahead and look at the screen of your device, however you are watching or listening to this podcast today. Tap that little subscribe button so that you aren't missing any new episodes. I am putting out new episodes of the podcast at least 2 to 3 times per month. I've got new YouTube videos out every single week. I don't want you guys to miss out on any of that good stuff. And I've also got a bunch of education and resources that I love to provide my community members through I Speak Organized, so I'll get you guys all up to speed on that stuff. As you scroll through and check out the show notes of the podcast or the description of the YouTube video, you'll find a link to my free Facebook group. It is an awesome, very supportive community. It's free to join. It's great for anybody who's on a decluttering and organizing journey, somebody who really appreciates having some inspiration and ideas to help them organize and become more productive in their lives, as well as if you are interested in starting your own professional organizing business. I'm sure some of you are here who have found me on YouTube as your go-to gal with all things pro-organizing business, and there are lots of people just like you inside that Facebook group as well, asking questions, and I will be holding some free training for you this summer. If you join that group, please feel free to chime in and let me know what it is you're interested in learning in that group. I also have a couple other special offers for everybody listening and watching today. The first one is a discount code to my exclusive mini course, Better Habits in 30 Days. This actually is something that will help you with procrastination in general and working towards your goals for the rest of the year. And this could be in your laundry routine, it could be in your exercise routine, it could be your schedule in general, or working on a big decluttering project like your garage or the backyard, or really whatever it is. That mini course is meant to help you jumpstart that motivation and fight procrastination to get through that project or get through those hurdles in 30 days. And it's one of the most affordable courses that I offer online, and it's packed full of lots of useful information, tips, and accountability to help you get through those tasks and succeed with your goals. So go ahead and check out the link to that in the description of the show notes, as well as the description of the YouTube video, and you can use discount code EARLYBIRD2022, and that will give you $5 off your purchase there. So be sure to check that out. If you have any questions, please comment down below and let me know. Lastly, my special surprise, you're gonna have to wait until the very end of this episode to snag a free gift. Without further ado, let's jump in and talk about all things laundry routine. So as a professional organizer, I deal with a lot of laundry, a lot of clothing, working with people in their closets and going through boxes in their garage. And so I have thought, considerably about this and how to make it as efficient as possible for a variety of different people, whether you are single living in an apartment, or you're a single mom with 3 kids, or you have 8 kids, or your kids are out of the house and you're downsizing. Wherever you happen to be on life's journey, this routine should be able to help you meet you where you're at, and you should be able to customize it and make it your own. And so I have it broken down into 5 very simple steps to make the process as easy and stress-free as possible. So we're gonna start with step 0, because it's actually more of a preparatory step, and it has mostly to do with your routine and the sort of productivity, motivational aspect. And so I want to make that part really, really easy to get you motivated to do this. And so step 0 has to do with decluttering your closet on a regular basis throughout the year. And there are 2 ways to trigger this process to start. And so I'll tell you which way that I use, and then another alternative that you might enjoy that some of my clients have found very useful for them. So the way that I like to do this is by using a consistent matching set of hangers. And so what I did was took all of the mismatched hangers and I just donated them and started fresh with a set of 100 matching velvet hangers. And it wasn't primarily because it looks better or whatever. That is definitely a positive byproduct of having matching hangers, is cutting that visual clutter. But it also just gave me the boundary of 100 pieces of hanging clothing in our closet. I share a small walk-in closet with my husband. We each have our side, and my stuff kind of bleeds into his a little bit, whatever. I don't think he's noticed or really is all that upset about it. But anyway, we have our own designated set of matching hangers. And so my decluttering routine in the closet is triggered by when my clothing goes over the hanger limit. I know that that's the boundary that I want to set. 100 hangers takes up enough space that it is like the maximum amount of clothing that I can comfortably fit in the closet before I have to start shoving and putting things where they don't belong and cluttering up the space. And so 100 hangers is my max. Once I have surpassed that, I trigger this decluttering event to happen. And so I will also include decluttering and going through my dresser and any other drawers or places where I keep clothing. So that's the way that I like to do it. I've had that be very successful for many clients. And that way there's no schedule that you really have to stick to. It's purely just based on space and utilizing the space that you have to the best of your ability and setting up those boundaries for yourself. And the second way that you can do this, which some clients find more effective for them and their lifestyle, is to actually plug the event into your calendar 2 to 4 times per year. It reoccurs on a specific date every year. You can plug it into, like if you have a Google or an Apple calendar, you just set it as a reoccurring event to happen on the same day each year. I like to do it with the change of seasons. That seems to be the easiest time to figure it out. Obviously, you can put those dates into your calendar however you want. And if you do choose to join my Better Habits in 30 Days mini course, I have a calendar of all kinds of decluttering and organizing events and routines already plugged in for an entire year. It is baked into that course, and so you will have access to that if you don't feel like putting it on your own schedule. Righto, moving on to step 1 of the official laundry routine, and we're gonna focus on the space where you do laundry and get that cleaned up. So we wanna declutter that by simplifying the products that you use to do laundry. And the reason for this is because there is a lot of inspirational content out there on social media that I absolutely love and get pulled into, and I'm sure you get pulled into it too, with the glass canisters for decanting your scent beads and pouring your liquid laundry detergent into a beautiful canister with the little pour spout things, and just making your laundry room space very aesthetic. And I think that's great if you have your cleaning and laundry routine under control and you have the time and the motivation to implement those things. However, if you are struggling to get out from underneath that laundry routine and you're finding that it's hard to get caught up, while it seems like it would be a fun sort of motivational way to get on top of your laundry, really what you're doing is just putting a bunch of extra steps in between you getting your laundry done and being overwhelmed. And so I like to encourage my clients to strip away a lot of that extra stuff, and then you can slowly implement it later once you kind of have a little bit more control over your laundry routine. So I like to simplify the products that I use as much as possible. One thing that I have found to be really, really effective, an effective replacement, are actually laundry detergent sheets. So we're eliminating laundry detergent, the liquid style, altogether, which are those big bulky bottles, and they're kind of unsightly and they're pretty hard on the environment, and not all of them have great ingredients for us either. So there's a little bit of a sustainability factor there as well. Laundry detergent sheets generally are cleaner and easier to use. They are the size of a dryer sheet, and you can just plug a couple of those into your load, and they are very effective at cleaning. They also take up a very small footprint in your laundry space, and they're just neater and easier to use. So that's my first thing that I would suggest. Another option for laundry detergent is actually Dr. Bronner's liquid Castile soap, that hemp-based soap, and it's a wonderful multi-purpose product that you can use for washing dishes, for in the shower, and also for your laundry. So I'll make sure to include some directions about how to do that with your laundry in the show notes of the podcast, also in the description of the YouTube video, and get you up to speed on that. But that's a really great alternative and a smaller footprint in your laundry area. So the bottom line here is to just simplify the products that you use and try to go for things that are smaller, things that are more multi-purpose, so that you aren't getting caught up in the laundry systems with multiple scents and products that you need and must have on hand to have beautifully clean laundry. A lot of that extra stuff is just part of a marketing scheme anyway, to have you collect the system, and it's meant to be fun and enjoyable. But if, again, you are somebody who struggles to be on top of your laundry, having a cluttered laundry space makes you less likely to want to be in there to get done what you need to. And it's good to avoid some of those synthetic fragrances that come in the laundry systems with multiple scents. The scented stuff is pretty hard on your endocrine system. So it's good to kind of limit that stuff as much as possible anyway. All right, step 2 of the laundry routine is to use smaller laundry baskets and limit how many you use per person in your household. And this comes from my very silly but easy to remember catchphrase, what you store becomes a chore. And this is so true, especially in terms of laundry. If you use a large laundry basket, you are able to accumulate lots of dirty clothes before you're actually forced to go and do those loads of laundry. So by using a smaller laundry basket, you are sort of training yourself, forcing yourself in a sense to do laundry more often, so that your loads are smaller and you are spending less time overall doing it. I would so much rather do one small load of laundry per day than spend my entire weekend getting caught up on everything and having to shuffle from room to room and sort and fold and do all of it in a couple of days. That just sounds like an absolute freaking nightmare. So we're going to avoid that by using smaller laundry baskets and making sure that each person really only has 1 to 2. If you're separating clothing by color or type, that's totally fine, and you can do, 2 loads that way per person. I just recommend keeping it on the smaller side. I will link in the description and in the show notes to my favorite collapsible laundry baskets that are pretty tiny. I think they might actually be meant for RVs or campers, like smaller spaces, but I love using them in my home because it really does help us build that habit muscle and stay on top of the laundry without it becoming such a massive, overwhelming thing that we just have to build all this motivation up to get it done, and it takes up the whole weekend. It just sucks. So we're going to avoid that by using smaller baskets. All right, fam, we are here at step 3 of our laundry system, and this is the most crucial step. And if you take nothing else away from this episode, I want you to perk up your ears and eyeballs for this one, because it's going to make or break your laundry routine. And that is just simply creating a laundry routine, a weekly laundry routine, right? So we're going to talk about the best practices for this based on my experience working with many different types of households, all different sizes, different priorities, amounts of clothing, all the factors. In general, this system, this routine works for everybody. So there are a few things that you're going to want to keep in mind as you build your own weekly laundry routine. And the most important overall factor of this is to help you create good habits and consistency. We've already set the stage with our smaller laundry baskets, so we are making the amount of laundry that we do at each load more manageable from start to finish. And you also have culled and decluttered your collection of clothing that you're responsible for managing by going through your closet a few times a year and eliminating pieces and setting boundaries. So we've already set the stage for all of this, and now we're going to put it into action with a very consistent routine. And there's a couple different things you want to keep in mind again. So the first thing that I like to recommend and that works really well for our family is to designate a specific day for each member of your family. And you can achieve similar results if you have a lot of people in your family. If you have 8 or 9 kids, you can double up on family members, and you can do yourself and your partner on one day. You can do 2 of your kids, or however you want to do that, and achieve similar results here, right? So if you have a 4-person household, you designate 1 day per person. And the reasons for doing this, there are a few of them that hopefully will make sense to you. So the first one being that, especially if you have kids, if your son, for example, is used to his laundry day always happening on a Tuesday, when you decide that it's appropriate to transfer that responsibility to your son, it's already ingrained in him as a habit. He knows his laundry is getting done every Tuesday, and so he'll be able to just ride that routine through as he takes over that responsibility. So that's the first part, is it's just reliable for people in your house to know what to expect and plan around it. And then also the other aspect of this is that you're not having to bounce around every single day that you do laundry from place to place throughout your home, right? So you are focusing on one person, their space, their stuff, and it's all going to be stored hopefully in 1 or 2 very specific central locations to that person. So it just makes the process overall more efficient. So start there, designate 1 day per person in your household, or a couple, double up like we talked about. And the next part of this is to then think about categories of items. So if we're going to talk about categories like bathrooms, you can designate, let's say you do bathroom laundry on a Thursday, and that means that you take and wash all your bathroom rugs, your bath towels, and it all happens on 1 day. So that way, at least you are consistent with the item type. And again, you're not having to go to too many spaces throughout your home. And then the last couple of things here to consider are trying to give yourself a miscellaneous day or a catch-all day where you can do the random stuff throughout your home. Maybe you don't have to do that one every single week, but you can designate it as a day available where you can wash the shop towels from the garage and the mat from the entryway and the kitchen tea towels and just kind of the random stuff throughout your home. And that'll be a day where you kind of are running around and bouncing throughout your home, but at least it's just 1 day as opposed to multiple. And so that can be your catch-all or your miscellaneous day. And then the last piece of this, if possible, is to just give yourself what is called a catch-up day, or even just a laundry-free day. So it could be one or the other, depending upon how you fine-tune your personal routine. If it's a catch-up day, we are making sure to be realistic about our expectations for ourselves, that things will happen. Somebody gets sick, you fall behind, somebody left a load of laundry in the washing machine for 3 days, days that needs to be rerun and stain treated or whatever else happens to occur, you will have that catch-up day to focus on getting back on top of your routine. And if there's nothing to catch up on, then you have a totally laundry-free day, which I love to be able to help clients incorporate. So you can very easily just write this down on a piece of paper and fill in all of these different variables and create your very own routine. Try to stick with it for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and so that way you'll be able to see what's working for you, what isn't. You'll be able to feel the effects of doing smaller loads of laundry on a more consistent basis and how that actually does free up more of your time overall and give you the ability to have some really quality control over this process. Finally, at the end of this is the second most crucial part of a good laundry system that's going to help you stay consistent and stay on top of this, is to create your laundry flow. And many people that I know are like, great, Melanie, I have a laundry routine and it's still not working for me. And so this is the missing piece to your laundry routine, is your flow. And that is basically just the term for how you wash, dry, fold, and put away each load of laundry. We don't often plan that part of our routine out, and that's why things end up sitting in the dryer for the week, or they end up sitting on top of your dresser and not put away, or they just sit in the laundry basket until you forget what's clean and dirty. And that's how we kind of get a mess. So the laundry flow is maybe even the most crucial part of this, okay? So there's a few different ways that you can work this, and I have found that it's not super realistic for people to wash, dry, fold, and put away an entire load in one day, and instead it seems more manageable for them to do it over a 1 to 2 day, like an overnight type of routine. And so I'm going to lay out a few different flows for you, and then you can decide whatever makes the most sense to you. But the overall thing that I encourage you to do is actually write this out and try to stick to that flow throughout your routine. So this is the one that my family typically does. We generally wash in the morning, dry during dinner, fold before bed, and we either put away before bed or we put away in the morning. Typically speaking, in our house, my husband and I are folding laundry before bed, and then when we wake up in the morning, he's on breakfast duty and I am putting away the laundry. And that just seems to work really well for our family. It's a way to make sure that those loads get done from start to finish, and we're not doing it all in one day, but it's happening over the night into the following day. You could also try something like wash before bed, dry first thing in the morning when you wake up, and then fold and put away before dinner. I have found that to be a pretty effective one as well. You can, if you have the time in your schedule to do wash, dry, fold, and put away all in one day, go for it. Again, I really just recommend that you write this flow out and try to stick to it very consistently for each load. All right, I'm gonna follow all this up with a couple of bonus best practices and tips. And if you've been around my community at all for 5 minutes or more, you know that I love to over deliver and give bonus content out. So this is a couple of bonus tips for you. And the first one is to get really specific about how often you wash things like sheets and towels. And this is a category of items that can get overlooked, and you can go a really long time without washing your sheets or towels. And it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily think about as often because you don't need to rewash them after every single use, or at least I don't have to do that. I usually try to wash those things once a week, but I try to get really, really specific about that. Again, that's where the laundry routine comes into play, where you have a specific day for those types of items. But then you also should maybe just jot down a note to give yourself an expectation of how often you want to wash those things. Is it every other week? Is it once a month? Is it once a week? I try to suggest that you do it at least every other week, if not every week. But again, everybody's circumstances are different. I have clients that tell me, Melanie, I shower every single night before bed, and so my sheets don't really get that grimy, and I am a single person, I don't have pets and this and that. And so there's no judgment attached here by my suggesting that. It's really just kind of whatever makes sense to you. But just whatever you decide, be consistent about it, write it down, put it in your planner, get it on your calendar, however you're gonna remind yourself of how often you want those things to be washed and rotated. So that's my first thing to add to this. The second thing is to just not fuss so much over the categories and the sorting of your clothes. I always remind people that there is this wonderful laundry aid called a color catching sheet, and you can use those in loads that have new clothing in them, or you can wash new clothing on its own to kind of lessen the potential for dyeing all of your whites pink. Again, this episode is really geared mostly towards people who are really overwhelmed and can't seem to get caught up. Just give yourself a break and a little bit of grace and space to do less in this regard. And this last little tidbit here is kind of a radical one, but I find it to be super effective for my ADHD and neurodiverse clientele. I try to build in no-fold storage solutions, and people have very mixed feelings about this until they try it and find the freedom of letting go of a lot of these conventional ideas about laundry routines makes their life so much easier. And so generally speaking, a no-fold laundry system is built out of a cube storage system. I like doing it that way versus using a dresser because clothing does tend to get stuck behind the dresser, especially if it's not folded. It's kind of just crumbled and thrown into a drawer. It tends to be a little bit harder to control. Whereas the cube storage system, the cube fits flush with the container space, and so you're not as likely to lose stuff behind it. It's really easy to pull out and put back in, and so you can just kind of check things in and go. If you don't have a ton of clothing in each of the cubes, you're not going to experience as much of the wrinkling. Generally, the wrinkles will come from the weight and pressure of clothes being smushed together. But if they're just kind of gently thrown in there and able to live loosely in the bin, it's really not as big of a deal. You can always, do a quick steam or whatever, throw it in the dryer with a couple ice cubes and get rid of those wrinkles if you need to, but it's generally not an issue. And the last part of this, which is a hill I'm totally willing to die on for all of us, is to limit yourself to one or two types and colors of socks so that we can just completely skip the matching and the losing of socks altogether. It's something that is just such a time suck in a laundry routine. I know that people feel like fashion and clothing is a huge part of their identity and how they show off their personality, and maybe you can have that intention put into some other aspect of your wardrobe. Maybe it doesn't need to be those fun, crazy socks, and you don't need 16 different types of socks. Maybe you really just only need black and white, or just one different color in a different style or something like that. But just minimize the socks, because that's the one thing that drives everybody so crazy and takes up so much time. You literally just have a clump of all the same and you stick them in the drawer. Even if you lose one or two, you're not having to hold on to the orphans in some basket or bag that just overflows that you don't find the match to. All of that goes away if you just let go of the need to match those socks. All right, friends, rant over. That is it. Building out your laundry routine and getting some control over the piles of laundry, and stop letting it take control of your life and procrastinating on it and all that stuff, all the things. I really hope that you found these tips useful today. Please do me a favor, smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to this podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would be so honored to have have you as a member of my community really means the absolute world to me, to be able to help provide helpful content for you guys. And again, go ahead and check out the description of this video and the show notes to get your hands on the Better Habits in 30 Days mini course to help you with your habits of procrastination and beating that in any aspect of your life on decluttering and organizing and productivity, as well as joining my free Facebook group, especially if you're into starting your own business. It's a great place to hang out. And if you're on your decluttering journey, it's a good place to ask questions to professionals and aspiring professionals as well. It's a just overall really awesome community. And because you are still here at the end of this episode, I have my special free gift for you, also located down in the description and the show notes of the podcast. I have a printable and digital fillable PDF laundry routine for you. So everything that we talked about today in step 4 of our process, where you're creating that laundry routine, is in there for you, with the guided prompts about which family member to put in, what type of laundry item you're going to do on a certain day, where's your catch-all day, what's your laundry-free day, this and that. It's all there for you, my free gift to you. You can fill it out on your computer and print it out, or you can print it out and write with your pretty handwriting. Beyond that, I hope you guys have a fabulous day. I will see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.